take off, take flight with you. Yeah, we never fly, but we're flying.
Hi guys, welcome back to episode number 116 of Take Flight podcast. And as you already know from the title, this is a Take Flight takeaway episode hosted by me, Shuwel, one of the 4 members of the Take Flight podcast team. Now, these takeaway episodes are short, bite-sized episodes of around 10 minutes, where each of us take turns to share some takeaways and learnings which we think would be valuable to others. In this episode, I wanted to share some lessons that I've learned recently from 2 founders who have had multi-billion-dollar exits. This basically means that they've created companies and then sold them for a multi-billion-dollar price tag. Now, the way that I met these founders were actually, for those of you who may not be aware, I'm studying a part-time master's at the moment where every month I visit Cambridge for the weekend where we have classes, and then during those classes we also get founders or entrepreneurs to come and speak to us. I'm now 25% of the way through my master's, and it's been great so far. It's actually quite crazy how quick the time has gone. The first couple of months were quite tough to transition with the studying, with the working, with Ahmed Capital Group, with life and everything else in between. But now it's in a good rhythm. And now at the 25% checkpoint, I thought it'd be great to share some of these learnings from these very inspiring talks with these founders and share these with our Take Flight Takeaway audience. So, in this episode, I will be sharing 3 of the key lessons that I learned from these founders who came to present. So, the first one, be thought about, be talked about. Now, whatever area you are in, it's important that your potential customers, potential investors, potential team members, potential employees, any stakeholder whatsoever, it's important that they are aware of what you're building, what you're creating, the type of person you are, and the type of team that you are building with. There are a lot of opportunities out there to grow, and there are rooms of people that can help you and want to help you. But if they don't know what you're working on or how you can help them, then you are selling yourself short and you're leaving a lot of money on the table. Now, this may not be comfortable for everyone to talk about things openly, or you may have the approach of, well, I'm going to do this in quiet because this idea is too good to share right now. But I think the founders that were saying this message, they were really trying to get the point across that even if you have the best idea, even if you have great execution, it's going to come to a point where you will need help from others to really scale your idea, scale your business, scale what you're working on. And there's no better way to scale than to be thought about and be talked about. So just ensure that you're sharing what you're doing with others and ensure that you can bring other people along on the mission. So be thought about, be talked about. The second lesson that I took note from these founders who have had amazing success, it was your biggest regret is not taking the jump earlier. Now, this really surprised me because the founder that had mentioned this particular statement, he's someone who sold his company for $2.5 billion. Now, this is a guy who has achieved scale and success, founded and exited a business which has created a lot of value, and hearing him say that his biggest regret is not taking the jump earlier with his idea. So this made me sit up straight because I thought if he's saying he's regretting not taking a jump earlier, despite all the success that he's had from a business standpoint, then we all have windows in our lives where we will have to take a jump into something that's uncomfortable. For me, it's been jumping from different career paths for or that feeling of having to raise finance for the first time last year, or even smaller things like taking the jump to start these podcasts with Daniel Olu and Pabilo. Now, these have all been moments where I've had to do something that's uncomfortable, but during those moments, taking that jump, I've always been happier for taking the jump than not doing it and regretting it later. So I think the lesson there is to always lean towards jumping rather than not moving at all. And the growth and fun is really on the other side. And this was a guy, the particular gentleman that had said this line that his regret was not taking the jump earlier. He was actually in his 60s and he started his business around the mid to late 30s. But he had wished that he had started earlier and took bigger risks earlier on, because his impact he thought would have been even bigger than what he has achieve. So that was the second lesson. Your biggest regret is not taking the jump earlier. And then the last lesson that I made a note from these talks, it's the period that we are in now more than ever is the moment for entrepreneurs and creators. So now, creators and entrepreneurs, we have more tools available than ever to build and scale ideas and projects quickly. So, whether that's through the internet, whether that's Web 3.0, whether it's social media, new media, whichever medium, now is the window of opportunity to take risks and build things. Now, this particular lesson came from a gentleman that has had multiple billion-dollar exits. He was an early investor in Alibaba, and he even dropped in an anecdote of going skiing with Mark Zuckerberg. But this is a guy that has really got entrepreneurship down to his bare bones. And he said himself that this wave of entrepreneurship that we will see in this next decade is bigger than anything he's ever seen. And we are now in the privileged position of being in the middle of this period in our lifetime. And it's really down to us to make the most of that. Now, all the above, what I've just mentioned, that doesn't mean you need to quit your job and build a business today. That's not the message I'm trying to convey. It could mean that whichever area you're in, it could be just shifting the mindset that you imagine that you are the founder of the business and you start to operate accordingly. Or if you've been sitting on an idea, this is me telling you, start building now, start small, start big, whatever it is, just start. And for those people who are already building something now, we just need to keep thinking bigger and keep raising the standards because the opportunities are really out there, and it's down to us to grab them with both hands and make the most of them. So let's go. Okay. So to summarize, guys, the three lessons that I learned from these founders who have had multi-billion-dollar exits: one, be thought about and be talked about; two, your biggest regret is not taking the jump earlier; and three, now more than ever is the moment for entrepreneurs and creators. So guys, let's go. Let's make the most of this year that we have ahead. Let's keep thinking bigger. Let's keep pushing ourselves. And yeah, we can't wait to continue to share what we are working on respectively. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this Take Flight Takeaway episode. Please make sure you check out all the other takeaways episodes that we've done. We've got some great content out there that has been created by all of us in the Take Flight podcast team. They're short bite-sized episodes, and I'm sure there is a lot of value that you can take from that. The other thing is, whichever platform you're listening on, whether it's Apple Podcasts, whether it's Spotify, any platform, please make sure you subscribe. Please also, if you found this valuable or any of our episodes of Take Flight Podcast, share an episode with someone who you think can also find value from it. We do this because we love it, we enjoy it, and we also want to help bring others along with us on this journey. So thanks a lot for tuning into this episode of Take Flight Takeaways. If you have any questions, then reach out to me at Shuwel1 on Instagram or Shuwel on LinkedIn. And of course, if you want any more information on Take Flight Podcast, at Take Flight Podcast. Thanks a lot for tuning into this episode. Wish you all the best for the year ahead and look forward to speaking to you all soon.
Take off, take flight with you.